Hi, my name is John Guerin. I am a real estate investor in the upstate of South Carolina. I work deals all over the country, but my very first deal came from my backyard. I've been asked by multiple people to go over this deal and tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. The ugly was a $18,000 lien that surprised us after we got up under contract. The good, we were able to negotiate that down to $0. And the really good is we made over $14,000 on our first contract. And I'd love to share with you how we were able to do that. So, this property right here had been abandoned for about 2.5 years by the family of the person who lived there. Now, the sister owned the property, but the brother was actually living there. Unfortunately, he had a bad smoking habit, and he fell asleep one night, and there was a fire in the house, which ultimately ended up taking his life. Because of that, the family did not know how to deal with this tragedy, and there wasn't insurance on the property because they owned it free and clear to actually be able to make repairs on it. So the house sat vacant. They have talked to a few people on and off about selling the property, but they had never gotten to the point that they were ready to even address the underlying issues. So this lead came in through pulling a vacant, tired landlord list, and I was able to text them and immediately have a conversation because in about 2 months they were going to lose this house to the county taking it because they weren't able to afford to actually take the taxes out on the property. Now, whenever they were going through this property, they had no clue what was even inside of it. And once we finally cut through all the brush to get into the back door because the front door wasn't even accessible because of lock, um, nothing had been touched since the fire department had been there. That same day that we visited the property, we were able to get this house up under contract, and we immediately sent it to our lawyer the next day. We went ahead and paid their earnest money deposit. And when we started doing the title search, that's when we got hit with a bunch of surprises. The main surprise that we got hit with was there was an $18,000 lien on the property from a trailer the brother had lost due to not being able to make payments on it in the past. The key part was the estate planning that was not performed, even though the father and mother both had wills. None of them actually went through the court system until years after their death, trying to settle issues like this house. Because of that, the bank was able to put a lien on this property. When you looked at the overall details of the lien, even the lawyer told me that it was not worth our time and effort. But I knew that there was a lot that we could do with this property or someone else could do with this property. The main thing that was wrong with it was actually cosmetic and smoke damage. The fire had not spread and hit the structural. The beams were completely intact in the roof. There was a little bit of water damage to the floor from the fire department, but no fire had hit any of the structural beams. Once I was able to pay for and get the title report from the lawyer's office, I went through and tracked down the local bank that this belonged to. It took approximately 8 hours of my time. But first going to the local branch instead of using the toll-free number for the bank and spending hours on the phone, I was able to get direct contact with the vice president over liens and foreclosures for that bank. Because of that direct contact, just by getting a limited power of attorney from the current owner and a copy of the wills for how the house was deeded to them and the current deed, and sending that signed paperwork to the vice president of the bank, uh, we were able to have an open discussion about what was going on with the property. For this instance, compared to some others, they didn't want to hold this property hostage because this was not of the faults of the family. They had already written off the what do you call it, the debt from the trailer against their taxes, and had already been used. So there was really no huge benefit for them to keep a lien on this property because they're not in the business of owning fire damage properties. After a letter sent from our closing attorney, we were able to ask for a complete payoff, and they wiped off the debt at closing. At total, the difference between our purchase price and the sell price was $14,500. It took the rehabber we sold it to approximately a year because they were working to help build up other neighborhoods, and they actually help with lower income families being put into homes. And so this house was able to be fully renovated and changed to a condition you would not remember. Now, what are the important lessons that we can actually learn from this? One of the main lessons is don't give up on deals when other people say that they're completely dead if you know that there's still a way to make profit. Not everyone knows the answer, and for some people, it may not be worth their time and effort. For me, spending about 8 additional hours gathering paperwork and um, getting signatures, spending time on the phone with the right people, and a little bit of travel time over the course of uh, about 15 to 30 days was worth it to me. We knocked down $18,000, plus we were able to make a $14,000 profit. To me, that was well worth it at the time, especially being my first deal. Now, would it be worth it to everyone? I don't know about that. But we knew that there was a deal here to be had. We also knew that if we didn't do anything, that they would lose this house to a tax auction, and then there'd be very little that anyone would do with this house due to the current economic climate of the area. Now, how or what were the steps that we actually used to go about finding this and how we got this lien? First, you have to do a title search. The title search is going to tell you what liens are on there, and you need to go through it. Make sure your lawyer has gone through it as well. From there, we were able to get the address and contact information of who owns the liens. And luckily, in our case, they were clearly stated with the bank. We got in contact with the bank and did our best to quickly get to the direct source instead of spending hours on the phone waiting for a person from overseas to answer and then filter us through the right network to get to the right person, or risk being hung up on several times. Once we got the right information, I already had ready a power of attorney from the current lien holder. And I also had copies of the death certificates for all the people involved. So when it came time, they knew that I had the authority from the person who owned the property to make decisions and negotiations on their behalf. And once we did that, all we had to do is have our lawyer ask for a written payoff, and then the payoff amount, which was $0, was sent. So at the time of closing, it could be cleared. Now, the only reason why this deal stayed going like it was is we had a very patient buyer. They knew they were going to get a deal that would work for them. So we did 2 different extensions. one to 15 days, and another of approximately 60 days, which was the first one. But they knew that they wanted this property. So at the closing table, everyone was happy. Our seller was able to get new floors. They did not have a mark against their record of having a house repossessed by the county, and everyone was happy. If you need anything in the upstate of South Carolina as far as buying homes, selling homes in a creative way or through investments, please don't hesitate to reach me, John at offersupstate.com, and I'll be more than happy to help walk you through the process. I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day. If you need anything, you know how to reach out. Thank you.